Squash XL Pro is an elite team that work hard to train, play and run squash events on our journey to climb the world rankings. Like, subscribe, comment, pick up some of our merch on Teespring.
Well, welcome into this, the men's final that is, of the National Squash Centre Invitational. It's the PSA Satellite Tournament. And we're watching already the first point. And it could be a long match that we're in for. A good match though. Joel ARSCOTT in the red, LWAMBA CHILESHE with the white t-shirt. And just like the men's third and fourth featuring Bemba CHILESHE against Elijah Thomas, it could go the full distance. That one went 5 games with Elijah Thomas winning in 5. The women's final won in straight games by Emma Miller over Abby Palmer. Just looking at this match here, LWAMBA CHILESHE ranked 148th in the world, whereas Joel ARSCOTT around about the 230 mark. LWAMBA has been based in the UK for a number of months recently and now back. Potentially the second seed in the Nationals behind Evan Williams, who's ranked around about 85. And nice shot there from Joel ARSCOTT moving forward, just taking the pace off it. And these two know each other very well. And since LWAMBA's been back in the country, he has been practicing with Joel and also his brother Bemba. Both players very quick around the court. There is a tendency for Joel to almost find himself down in a match before coming back strong. Oh, but that one lifted way too high. So far, the 4 points that we've had have been played on very quick fashion. But these two could certainly meet when it comes to the national champs at the North Shore Club late in October. Nice, taking the ball on the full, just that one step to the side.
3-2.
And heading through, punching it through. That one away from his body. Players just working themselves into the match. You're going to see that sort of shot from both players. Going to try and come forward and take it on the full, using their forehand. Haven't quite seen the backhand used for it just yet. Some lengthy rallies already, particularly compared to the women's final where it was just hit and go for it. Oh, we have the two very experienced referees, the officials here. And what Joel has been doing in the last couple of matches is actually whipping his backhand across court. Usually there's a tendency for players to play down the line, down the backhand, multiple backhand shots. But what he's doing is just taking it across court a lot. Let's see whether it stays on the backhand side on this one. Using that backhand cross court to open up the court a lot more.
ARSCOTT, and out 4-all.
Well, 4-all in the first game, and Sean Wigan, we've seen some lengthy rallies, particularly compared to the women's final where it really was just go for it. These two players know each other's games very well. But one thing that's already been interesting is they haven't been playing down the backhand side too often. They've been taking it across court to try and open up the rally, it seems.
Yeah, well, for both of these two, you know, they like to just rally the ball down the wall, and I'd say for both of them, the backhand's probably the strongest side for these two.
Okay. Is that usual for a lot of players? Because you feel that forehands.
Usually you get people going more to the backhand because there's slightly more turning and slightly weaker shot compared to the forehand. So yeah, it's a very interesting tactic. Like I said, you know, these two have played with each other so many times that they're probably always trying something new when they play each other.
Yep. Well, the other thing is, it's going to sound silly, but you don't want to get bored with the way you play. Every time I play this guy, I play it this way. Sometimes it goes my way, sometimes it doesn't. And you can almost get bored with the same matches and the same tactics against that player.
Well, for both of these two, that you know, they'll be going into this game with a little bit different mindset. You know, for Joel, you know, he's certainly not, you know, Louis the favourite, so
yes.
You know, Joel's going in as the underdog, so he'll just be trying, you know, something a little bit different to see if he can try and get over the line. Where Louis, he's in a position, and while he's expected to win, you know, he wants to get himself ready, so when he does go back on tour, you know, he's ready to use what he's tried in these games in the big ones, because, you know, that can be the big difference to, you know, making a massive breakthrough.
Well, let's hope we do actually have a PSA tour which includes overseas tournaments, not just for the top 40 players as it tends to be at the moment, particularly around Egypt and the Middle East, with Paul Cole taking part and Joel King in the women's side. But there are a lot of players that 140 and say 50 and below who want to play, but there's just nothing quite for them just yet, except for in New Zealand over the next few weeks. PSA satellite tournaments, and that's where the players are going to make the most of it. Win the points. They're not going to. It's not as many points as you'd get by playing a challenger or a PSA bronze or silver tournament.
As we just saw a nice roller there. Yeah, no one. Very harsh crowd here. He hits a very nice roller, and no one wants to clap him. I guess that means everyone's expecting him to do that again, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, but to answer your question before, yeah, it's certainly good to have squash for us playing again.
Whether it's satellites or challenges, you just got to take what you're given at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's certainly hard to play tournaments when you don't have the opportunity, and look, I think New Zealand should be lucky enough. We're actually lucky enough to be given this opportunity. You've got some countries that can't even play squash at all because they've got such strict measures at the moment.
Well, the other factor is, particularly in the men, there are enough players to play satellites and have enough depth.
Well, what's incredible is, you know, we've had 8 really good players here this week. There are at least 4 or 5 that could be just as good that could play these tournaments as well. Definitely. You know, so that's what I think is insane about these satellites is, you know, you might get few playing every week, but you get some good retrieving here from Louis. Just really good height on both those lobs there. Yeah, going back. It's just makes a silly mistake after all the good hard work he made.
A lot of hard work in that one, and then just maybe didn't lift it quite enough. It was forcing the error out of himself.
Yeah. You know, here's an interesting opportunity now. You know, 7-all. We saw how good Lwamba was in this situation yesterday against Elijah. Sort of stepped the pace up when he needed to in this situation. So it'll be interesting to see how Joel handles it.
We know that Joel almost prefers to be down in a match. which is unusual. It fires him up a little bit. He does seem to get fired up and then say, well, I'm coming to get you. I may be down, but I'm coming back.
Well, again, you know, he's got the underdog card
Yes.
in this match, so, you know, he probably doesn't care if he's leading or if he's behind. He can just go out there and try something a little bit different, so he hits a... So... Lwamba is getting a bit tangled up there.
8-7, right box.
Well, it's reversed around, a couple points lead for LWAMBA CHILESHE initially, and now with the short, yeah, there we go. There, yeah, I was looking at the scoreboard, getting a little bit confused, and it is actually CHILESHE with the lead.
Yeah. Again, you can just see him trying to take the ball early now. Oh. Interesting decision there. Oh, nice shot.
Covered. It's back in the rally now. Actually to hit it quite nice and deep into the corners.
That's one of Louis' biggest strengths, is when he is in defensive mode, he can quickly turn into attack straight away. So, you know, he was under pressure for majority of that point, and then suddenly he hits a really nice lob to suddenly get himself in front.
There we go. Oh, waiting for the cross, but didn't come.
Ooh, big
goodness.
mistake there. Right shot, just not quite got the execution there.
What we were seeing is also both players willing to shift the ball from backhand to forehand, forehand to backhand. There's no distinct let's do 10 shots into the backhand. Oh,
So again, just Lwamba's experience there, just getting a bit of Joel there. You know, 7-0, hit some very nice shots to get to 9-7, and then Joel sort of gives away 2 easy mistakes there.
yeah, really. Well, so far, Sean Wigan, an interesting first game. LWAMBA CHILESHE keeping it quite tight, whereas Joel Arskott just a couple of points near the end of that first game that didn't help him. It just kind of gave away a couple of, I wouldn't say easy points, but he was guilty of just letting a couple of loose points. There was, I think it was the final shot that was a little bit loose.
Yeah, they're not necessarily the wrong shots he made, like that one at 9-7, you know, that was the right option. Lwamba was under pressure, he was behind, and Joel went for the job. It was just the execution that let him off, and that's the big difference in those sort of situations, making sure you're getting more the execution rather than just... Because of course, it's a much bigger point, 9-7, compared to something like 2-all, you know, you might get away with a mistake back then, but 9-7, you know, the point is very crucial.
So that little error there by Joel Arskott, just looking at it and going, why do they have to force it that much?
Yeah, he's made a good start in this game. He's forced 2 mistakes from Lwamba here. Louis trying to milk an easy point there.
He didn't do it very well. It was quite clear that Joel was not quite ready.
Yeah. Maybe he needs to work on that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't think it was an amazing service anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
I'll tell you that job was pretty good at the just now.
Yeah, that was a much better shot from Joel. He steps across very wide on those serves. He's almost in your half of the court already when he's hit the ball. So let's see who can change the pace up. Joel trying to slow it down a little bit. There's lob, another one. No,
Another
not this
one
time.
just.
First two were okay, but that
Yeah.
third one just a little bit too high.
Good use of height from both players here. Oh, nice shot. Nice hold there as well.
So, Sean, if you were advising a junior when they're watching a point like that with those lobs, what would you be saying to any junior? Just don't be afraid to use a lob?
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that I certainly learned when it came to lobs was I didn't used to do too much of it. I like to play the game very fast, as you would have seen from my games this week. But I had, even as late as last year, you know, I had to learn to just slow down when I need to, not because I was tired or physically struggling, but it was more just to get myself back in the point, slow down when I need to.
But it can be used offensively and defensively.
Exactly, and that was another thing. They get just a bit tangled up there. Yeah, because the lob can be an offensive weapon as well, which I think is what juniors are afraid of doing, is using it just for...
Yeah, sometimes they use it just to get back in the point themselves, but you can use it to win the point.
Exactly, and it's good to mix the pace up, especially when you're playing someone who may not be the best volleyer in the game as well, especially juniors. It's much harder to really hit the ball hard, so that can be a good option when you're coming up the ranks. Oh, Joel's going for a big shot there. A little bit more down the wall this game. There was a lot of cross courts in the first game, but now with a bit short there.
Right close to the wall. Yeah, as you're saying, they are playing it a lot closer, and then...
Nice shot there from Lwamba. Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good set. That was a really good setup as well from the volley there. Didn't hit the ball too hard, but just tight enough to force the loose one from Joel to then take advantage of.
Yeah, it was very patient at that point, wasn't he? It didn't try and play it too early. Just had the opportunity presented to him and then able to put it away. So we've seen this rally just sped up a little bit.
You know, again, halfway through the second game, this is when Lwamba will start to pick the pace up a bit, see if he can force some mistakes out of his opponent.
Almost a misstep, but recovered. So,
be a bit disappointed with that. He was controlling the point very well there. Was making Louis move around the court a lot there. Nice shot. Good pickup. Oh, another mistake.
gee. And he'll be ruining that mistake because it does give the three-point advantage. Puts him out to 7-4. Just seemingly that much closer. And now each point that Lwamba picks up.
And again, you know, it was definitely the right option there, but it was just the execution. But because of the situation of in the game, you know, 6-4, he needs to get it. That was a much better job on that occasion.
What we're seeing from Lwamba is he recovers so well from looking out of position.
Well, he's
able to get himself back into the rally and...
well, he can just turn defense into attack very quickly. You know, when he's working hard, And then he's just waiting for his opponent to hit a very loose ball, and that's when he pounces.
Would you say that's because of his ranking? That's because of his training overseas? That's because of the
Well,
tournaments he's played?
Well, he would have hit with very high-ranked players that would have taught him how to do it just by playing them. You can see so far from his games this week, you know, they've not, you know, his opponents may think, oh, they're not out of it too much. But then suddenly, just when he needs to pick the pace up, he just does that, and then all of a sudden, what was a very tight 7-all game suddenly turns into 11-7, just like it did in the first game here.
Oh, this is a huge rally, very long.
Yeah, very loose shot there from Louis that time.
Tough though. I mean, he'd only just hit the shot. He couldn't really. How quick was he meant to?
Yeah, it was a very loose ball. It's got to make sure you keep the ball tight. If Joel was pretty much ready to play the ball, so he couldn't really do anything else than that.
When there was no questioning from Lwamba anyway, he acknowledged it.
Nice shot there.
Well, we keep on saying it's a vital point, but again, this is another vital point. If Lwamba can take it, it moves him just that bit closer, but if Joel takes it back to 1 point. Oh, nice turn.
These two don't even look that tired from this point either. Could just do this all day.
Well, if it's anything like Timor against Elijah, we'll take quite a bit of the
That's
day.
a nice shot there. Good hold. Really nice hold.
He hit against the side wall so early as well that it created the angle.
Yeah, he just held enough and saw Louis step back just slightly to force them to then hit a very nice boast. And all of a sudden, from 7 forwards now 6-7, he's right back into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So the stroke.
I can't get away with that.
Yeah. So
It's a shot, but never get away with that one.
No, I mean, it could have been dangerous if he had played it.
Nice shot there from Joel. Good recovery shot there. Oh, just good length there. Even Joel admires it.
So the score is actually 9-6 at the moment.
And again, you know, Joel was right in this game, 6-7. All of a sudden, Louis has a few very good points, and it's now 9-6, just getting that safety barrier.
So 9-6, and the let now played. What I do like to see, Sean, is that Lwamba steps forward and takes that forehand as early as he can.
And that's where he forces mistakes like that, because he's taking that ball slightly earlier. It just gives your opponent that extra less millisecond to what would have happened if he just let it come the ball to him.
Yeah. And the ball jammed against the side wall and also got close to the front wall.
And at this level, that's more important than hitting it low, because you want to get the ball tight enough to not necessarily just hit a winner, but to set up the next ball. So that was very smart thinking there from Joel.
Now, what's he going to do?
Again, just lobbed it up, but made sure it was a tight one. Ooh, and
Oh, goodness.
just
So it was a tough one there for Joel to lose on as well, because he was right there.
you can see just on the back foot for the majority of that point there. Louis not doing too much work.
And against Joel ARSCOTT in the orange. Well, these two know each other's games very well. But it's just good to see Lwamba back in New Zealand and back playing a PSA tournament, satellite event here. And Sean Wiggin, so far, we've had very...
Oh, nice shot there from Joel, just going for it.
I was about to say very similar circumstances, but just every now and then, Joel's able to pull off top shot. In fact, both players are able to pull off a top shot, but these first two games have been similar, haven't they?
Yeah, well, both games, you know, Joel's been right in it. You know, he's had a few opportunities, but then Louis' experience just tells, you know, he just, not necessarily hitting winners, but he just forces the mistake when he needs it to come. And, you know, that's a very good job there from Louis on that occasion. But he doesn't go out there and tries to hit winners, but he's more out there to just move his opponent around and force mistakes. So you see there, it just forces another mistake there.
Nice little pick up.
Loose ball there from Louis. Joel couldn't do much else
No.
other than call for a let.
Yeah. One thing any juniors would or should notice is that you don't have to hit every shot as hard as possible. Even if you have that sitter, sometimes it's best just to take a little bit of pace off and hit it 3/4 or drop it.
Well, you just watch it how hard Louis hits. He doesn't actually smack the ball. He just goes out there and places it. You know, you know, he's not going out there trying to hit the world's hardest shot. He's just placing the ball tight to the wall, making sure he's got a good length.
Well, that's one thing will be noticeable at the New Zealand Juniors coming up this week in Christchurch. Just which players can vary the pace. And it's a great rally here. Louis having to really cover the court, now slowing it down.
And it'll be very noticeable at juniors, you know, what the level you start to see the ball, see the players start to place it more. When you're much younger, you know, your first thought is to just try and hit the ball as hard as you can to get it to the back of the court. But once you get that, more of that control to push it back, you don't have to hit the ball so hard.
It's very difficult as a junior because you're thinking, hey, I'm getting beaten by someone by trying to place it more because they're hitting it harder. And so you've got to really say to yourself, or your coach or parents got to say to you, no, just take your time, it'll come. And that's the frustrating thing is, you know, someone saying it'll come along.
And that's why the lob in juniors, I think, is important as well. You know, you don't. Joel calls for a let there, and good call there, because if he hit that, probably would have hit Lou in the back there. We've already had an incident like that today from one of the other matches. So
yeah, that was Elijah Thomas hitting Tim Waichirisi. And it really did seem to have a little bit of an effect on Tim. Oh, look at that pace around the court there.
Oh, that's a great shot. Couldn't do much else than that.
It's what we were talking about, that he didn't need to really bash the ball. He was just able to place it.
Well, after a few very quick shots early in the rally, then slowed it down slightly to sort of set him up well for that last shot. You know, he's doing a very good job mixing the pace of the rally, so having some rallies go really fast and then just slowing down when he needs to.
Well, that is one of the aspects of the top pros. They don't have to hit every ball incredibly hard. In fact, there was something that Paul Cole mentioned when he'd seen some of the juniors play. I think it was when he was back here last year. He said, you know, these guys just need, you know, they can hit it as hard as anybody, but they just need the variation to their game.
Again, Paul Cole wasn't the hardest hitter when he was a junior. He was more about placement, and that's why he went up the ranks so quickly. Was he was placing the ball a lot more than just trying to bash the ball to the back of the court. And because he was placing it to the back, not many players could handle it.
Oh.
Rare mistake here from Louis. He had Joel moving around the court there.
Certainly the opportunity to play the ball almost where he wanted, but played it a bit too much. Let's see what kind of serve we're going to see from Joel here. Relatively low.
Nice shot there from Louis.
And that high hold on the grip there by Joel almost seems to move up when he gets under pressure as well. Oh, goodness.
He's missed a lot of those shots today, Joel.
A little bit uncharacteristic, really. Wouldn't usually miss that many.
Yeah, and I think, again, you know, Louis forces those sort of mistakes out of you. Like I said, you know, Joel wouldn't make those sort of mistakes regularly, so when, you know, you're playing someone that not only gets the ball back, but with good purpose, it makes it harder to perfect that sort of shot.
Every now and then, Lwamba just picks up the pace on his forehand and gives it a good, powerful hit.
There's one there, though.
And no disputing it either. Accepts that one. Knows what he did.
Well, he knows also not. There's no point talking about it. Just move on to the next point. Oh, nice shot there.
Joel was trying to get himself back into position. And Lwamba had the advantage there. Just take the pace off. He knew he had him running the wrong way.
And again, he takes the ball early there.
10-5, match ball.
Match ball here for Louis now.
pick up. Oh,
Oh, and then he does that.
it was almost a bit too casual, knowing that he's got 4 to 5 points.
Yeah, you better be careful. Joel came from 10-6 down yesterday.
He almost seems to prefer it. Probably not on this occasion.
And that's in the 10.
All right, well, there we go. Straight game victory for LWAMBA Chileshe.
Right, well, congratulations there, Lwamba. A nice victory for you, and great to have you back on court in New Zealand playing a PSA satellite tournament. You've got to be happy with just getting back on court.
Yeah. Can't really explain sort of the emotion at the moment. Even though it wasn't the biggest PSA tournament, it was just the whole atmosphere of the tournament, and there's obviously a lot of battles, a lot of 5-setters, a lot of like gut-wrenching matches. So yeah, it was really good to see, really fun to play and really fun to watch.
And playing against someone like Joel, who you've practiced with a lot and no doubt had a few practice games, but on the court, he's always a tough competitor, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, going into the game, I knew I was physically a bit better than him, having spent less time on court. But yeah, from the start, he was quite hard to break down. And yeah, obviously I train with him, do sort of the same fitness as him, and know that he's a fit dude. And yeah, he really stayed with me. And I really had to push in the middle stages of the games, just to try and get ahead. And I was trying to take the ball early, just to try and break his rhythm up. And yeah, it took him a while to break down. So yeah, but really enjoyed the match.
And finally, the national champs are around about a month away. That's got to be such a big priority for you, hasn't it?
Yeah. So that's the main focus now. This tournament was more about just seeing how we're tracking, because we haven't had a professional tournament in a while. But yeah, nationals is the main goal. Obviously want to peak for that and get a good result there, especially with Paul and Campbell not back. So yeah, it'll be a good opportunity for us youngsters to maybe grab a title.
All right, thank you very much there, LWAMBA Chileshe, our men's champion.